This ain't no echo chamber. We're unlocking any chain. The devil's advocate speaking, cutting through the fog. Let us explain. Yeah.
Pull up, turn the volume, let the bass ignite. Devil's advocates, that's the channel. Together we fight. They ain't here to echo what the masses preach. They challenge beliefs, putting truth within reach. Flip the script, reverse the lens, ain't no fear to provoke. Unpopular opinions, watch the stagnant water smoke. They dissect the narratives, poke holes in the facade. Sharpening the mind, ain't no truth they'll disregard.
This ain't no echo chamber. We're unlocking any chain. Devil's advocate speaking, cutting through the fog. Let us explain.
See, the description hit hard, that's the blueprint to code. Not everyone likes it, but that's the path they strode. Challenging beliefs, that's the mission, the aim. Flipping tables on conventional, fanning intellectual flame. Stepping opposing view, not for conflicts embrace, but to sharpen the blade of truth. Leave no logical trace of error or bias or thoughts that just float. They dig to the core, let the arguments blow with substance and reason, not just empty retort. They building up thinkers, a mental fortress of fort.
This ain't no echo chamber. We're unlocking any chain. Let devil's advocate speaking, cutting through the fog. Let us explain.
You don't go by always being right, that's a stagnant pool. Growth comes from questioning, breaking every rigid rule. Honest conversations, bold questions, a few uncomfortable facts. They lay it all bare, no turning back, no looking back. Seeking clarity or big debate, either way you win. They push you to understand where your own thoughts begin.
So hit that subscribe button, let the knowledge unfurl.
The devil's advocates,
Changing your whole world.
yeah, it might make you squirm, but that's how you transcend. Listen to the devil's advocates till the very end.
Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to know why I'm here today? It's not because I want to give you a pep talk or because I want to make you feel good about yourselves. No, I'm here to tell you the truth.
All right, welcome to the show. Hopefully the sound is good. Give me a sound check as always. I like to start out at least knowing that you can see my mouth moving and you can hear me. The Devil's Den. Yes, everybody in the chat, we're going to affectionately refer to you as the Devil's Den. Don't get offended if you've got religious beliefs. It's nothing personal. It's just the branding of the Devil's Advocates. I'm sensitive to that issue because I grew up with a lot of, we're not going to go into that right now. The point being is that I'm sensitive that it may be offensive to some people, but you can't please everybody at the same time. So the Devil's Den is our little special area. Get used to it. It's just cute. It's not anything evil. Anyways, thank you so much for checking in tonight. It's going to be probably pretty laid back. Long Island serial killer is the topic tonight. I've had the thumbnail up there for a while. In fact, let me pull that up on stage maybe. And let's see if I can do this. That's the wrong one. Add this to the stage. Well, let's remove this from the stage and let's add, you would think I would have my stuff down yet. So this is the topic. This was the thumbnail I think that you saw tonight. It's all Long Island serial killer tonight. And tonight, by the way, I just finished a few hours ago my interview with the gentleman that is shown on the thumbnail, John Ray, attorney representing the families of Shannon Gilbert in the Long Island serial killer case. It really is about Shannon Gilbert, his role, but as it's turned into Rex Heuermann being the primary candidate well, candidate's not the right word. The primary suspect in the Long Island serial killer case. It's become all about Rex Heuermann. John Ray was kind enough to interview with me today. Leah, thank you so much for the super sticker. Woo! I love it. Thank you so much. That helps us so much. I got CrimeCon coming up. I can always use the extra money for a donut or a lunch or something like that. So that helps out a lot about that. We're going to talk about the interview. In fact, I'm going to give you a sneak peek of the interview tonight. I'm going to give you about, I think, 3.5, 4 minutes of the interview so you can see what it looks like. Let me tell you a little bit about that interview. So I'll get full screen here for a minute and we'll talk one-on-one where I'm real close to your eyeballs. So here's the thing. When I first got a phone call back from John Ray, when I pitched the idea, I'm going to reach out to this is surreal what I'm doing, people, on YouTube. I never had confidence to reach out to people who are on TV, and I see them on TV, and I was like, I'm just going to take a shot in the dark. I'm going to send an email to John Ray and see if he'll talk to me. And when he called me back, I think I peed myself a little bit. I couldn't breathe for a while. I was starstruck. I'm like, I just got a phone call back from John Ray, and I'm talking on the phone to him. Once I calmed myself down and started to conduct myself as a professional, when got through the nerves, we agreed after a good long phone call that he would come on my show and do that interview. And he's a busy man. John Ray is always in something big, usually at the center of attention on media. And he set aside some time, and today was that day. And we put that interview in the can today. And thank goodness I can start breathing again so I don't panic. By the way, I'm going to give Robin a microphone because Robin can't even interrupt if she wanted to at this point. So let me put Robin here and let's see. I'm going to go back to Robin. You should be a voice now, but not a face. What do you think?
All righty. Hey, everybody.
Welcome, Robin. So those of you who are familiar with the show, you know the drill, but those who aren't, Robin is a kind of audio moderator for me. She's going to pay attention to what's going on in the chat when I miss it so that she can yell at me and make sure that I stop for a minute because I tend to just talk nonstop and never breathe. Now, what the hell was I saying? I was talking about John Ray's interview. Oh,
you can breathe now.
I can breathe now. So that interview went really, really well. I had it was an hour and 30 minutes. I think we talked. I'll probably trim down the actual interview to about an hour. And we're going to premiere it coming up. The reason we're going to premiere it is because look at the horrible numbers that we've got right now. And I'm not whining and complaining about my numbers, but we don't have enough people to do justice to John Ray. This case hasn't taken off yet. It is gaining momentum. More and more people are talking about it. More and more YouTubers are jumping on it. More and more news platforms are getting on it. So it's going to become a bigger thing. And pretty soon there's going to be another breaking headline because on Friday the 3rd, is that Friday? Maybe it's not Friday. Whatever the 3rd of September is, that is going to be a Fry hearing in the case of Rex Heuermann. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well, what a Fry hearing is and what's going to happen. But as the case gains momentum, we want to be able to premiere this interview that I did with John Ray. And we're going to probably premiere it with Bertie Bombshell. And Bertie and I and John Ray are going to get together. I'll get right to you, Robin. I heard you kind of cough. So we're going to get together with John Ray and take live questions and answers after you watch the live premiere of that interview. Did you have something there, Robin?
Everything Me donated 50 gift memberships.
Good Lord, there's not even 50 people in here right now. But good Lord, thank you so much. I don't know how that works when there's less than 50 people in the room, but that's amaze balls. Hopefully that works. Thank you so much for that. Everything Me, that is amazing. What that means, of course, to the people who are here. And let me make sure if it's hopefully retroactively, you can still do this. But if you haven't done so already, make sure in the bottom corner, if you're watching on a on your PC, in a web browser, in the lower right corner, there should be a little $ icon. And you have to be able to make sure that you've set yourself to allow yourself to get gifts. So paid memberships on my channel, by the way, are $2.99. I know it's really freaking expensive. However, this person has done it for 50 people. If you do the math, they just did a major donation to my channel. So thank you very much, Everything Me. You, however, if you happen to have that thing turned on, the algorithm will generally just assign out people who get them, which means that anybody who had it turned on is getting one right now because we'd have less than 50 people in here. So that's an amazing thing. So hopefully you got that free membership. Hopefully you can turn it on now and maybe still get a pop at that free membership if you didn't have it turned on. And whatever you do, make sure you have it turned on for next time, because apparently some of the people who love this channel keep handing out free memberships, and that's amazing for you and it's amazing for me. It's free content for you for a month, and if you want to keep going, you can subscribe. By the way, at the end of this particular show tonight, I call it a show. Is that appropriate to call it a show? Whatever. At the end of tonight, I'm going to tell you some stuff that members only are going to get a preview about that will make it worth that free membership you just got, and paid membership if you're already a paid member. You do not get a free membership. You're already a paid member at probably the highest level I think we've got. So freaking, it's not going to happen. Maybe you get a refund for the month that you already paid for. I don't know. So let's talk a little bit about that. Again, I'm gonna preview. I'm trying to decide when to do the preview. I'm gonna let the room build a little bit more, just in case we get some more people other than 19. If I see the numbers drop, now we're down to 17. So if I see the numbers drop down too low, we'll do it whenever it feels appropriate. But if we'll give it some time to build some momentum before I show that. Let's talk about the Fry hearing. So Rex Heuermann is the alleged serial killer operating on Long Island. He was the one that they originally attacked the Gilgo for. Actually, I think 3 bodies were originally attacked to him of the Gilgo 4. Bodies that were dumped on Gilgo Beach in Long Island area. And so Rex Heuermann's got a Fry hearing coming up. Now, what is a Fry hearing? A Fry hearing is basically, it's a hearing before the trial starts to decide whether or not certain scientific, and specifically Chappie Boss, by the way, thank you for donating money to the show tonight. Thank you so much. What's up? Very much, very cool. He's an Oregon person like me. We're in Oregon State. By the way, when I was talking to, I'm all over the place. I'll come back to the Fry hearing, but everybody was asking me, where are you at? And I'm like, I'm in Oregon. Oh shit, you're on the opposite coast. Cause all the cases that I'm following are over in New York now. And so, well, I got Idaho. So I do have Koberger's case, not completely dead. So anyways, point being is that it does make collaborating with these people on the East Coast a little harder, but I'm going out to New York and we'll get back to that. Fry hearing. I said I was going to get to the Fry hearing. John Ray, by the way, is not going to the Fry hearing. In the interview that you're not going to see until after the Fry hearing, John Ray will kind of explain a little bit about why he's not going to the Fry hearing. It'll be based on what is John Ray's role. That's something that John and I talked about. John Ray is a victim's advocate in this case, like a family advocate for the victims. He's trying to find out who killed Shannon Gilbert and get those answers and hold people accountable to it. It doesn't necessarily, this is my interpretation, and I asked John Ray about this in our interview, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're vested in whether Rex Heuermann is the guy or not. What they are vested in is who killed Shannon Gilbert. The family wants to know, and they want that held accountable. Whether that's Rex or whether it's somebody else is in some regards not the big issue. The issue is who did it, and let's hold people accountable, and let's not have things like cover-ups, which John Ray kind of hints that, and I agree, there's some shady shenanigans going on in Suffolk County. That whole department seems to be a bit of a mess. And no, that's no disrespect to law enforcement, but Suffolk County, you've got some cleaning your shit up to do. That area is a mess. And the corruption going on in your department needs to be corrected ASAP, because the whole world's watching and you're on center stage again for shenanigans in Suffolk County. So we'll get into a little bit of that as well. We're going to talk about, I think the clip that I'm going to share with you of John Ray from the interview today is going to talk a little bit about some weird, shady shit with Suffolk County. We're going to talk about a moment. It was a great moment in the interview where John Ray just dropped a bombshell on me about something. When he started the sentence, as you're going to hear in this video later on, when he started the sentence, in my 40-something year career, I've never seen it. This was the first time I'd seen it, and I've never seen it since. I'm immediate all ears. What? He said, they did something in my 42-year career that when they did it, I'd never seen anything like that, and I've never seen anything since. And so we're going to play a little clip of that tonight about John Ray's admission that something weird's going on in Suffolk County. And I asked him on that video, what does that mean? And we'll riff on that a little bit. You get a little sneak peek. There are more amazing bombshells to pay attention to in that video. By the way, as another perk coming up for members only, I'm more than likely going to make that whole entire video available for members only. Now, I have multiple tiers of members, and I'll try to be quick on it. The middle tier is $9.99. That's the one that's going to get the pre-look at the interview for a couple weeks before it comes out. So it's not necessarily at the cheapest level, but the cheapest level has like 90% of everything I do for members only is at the cheap level, $2.99. But the next step up will be where the premiere is at if you want to watch it ahead of time. Or if you just want to wait a couple more weeks, it'll be out and you can watch it in its entirety for free. So, what else do we have? I see that somebody's in here for Shannon. Look at that. Show Justice for Shannon. By the way, another teaser of John Ray and I's interview. At one point, John Ray got very philosophical with me, and I felt a little bad because I didn't quite go down the philosophical path with John, but we got into a discussion about what is justice, what is truth in the end. Are people seeking justice? Is that even a thing? What is truth, and who determines what the truth is? So we got into a little philosophy on what is truth. Interesting moments in the thing, again, to give you a teaser of something to look forward to when that video drops. So, and it looks like Melissa got one of the free memberships that were handed out tonight. So awesome sauce. We'll talk about that. So again, the Fry hearing, what it is on Friday, and John Ray is not going to be at the Fry, not on Friday, on September 3rd, whatever hell day of the week it is, because somebody tell me what day of the week. Wednesday. On Wednesday, that makes sense. So I'm driving to CrimeCon on Wednesday, and Josh Zeman, who's a documentarian who did a 7-part series, The Killing Season, on LISK, the Long Island serial killer. He's also going to be interviewing with me next week. I got some big freaking interviews going on, people. This is crazy in this case. And I'm ahead of the curve, so that's good for you if you want to get into this case, because I'm getting some big names early on, establishing some friendships. Hopefully, those will develop into ongoing things where I can get John Ray back and Josh Zeman. But where I was going with the Fry hearing, because I keep saying Fry hearing and I don't end my freaking sentences, the Fry hearing on Wednesday, which I can't attend or listen to because I'm in my car driving. John Ray is not going to, because it doesn't really pertain to his case, and he'll explain that on that interview that you haven't seen yet. But Josh Zeman, who I'm going to be interviewing next week, will be at the Fry hearing, and it's about the scientific data, the scientific way that they're going to try to use novel nuclear DNA rootless hairs to tie Rex Heuermann to some of the bodies via some hairs that were found at the crime scenes belonging to his wife and or daughter. And that's how they're tying Rex Heuermann to a couple of the crime scenes. Now, here's the thing. What they're arguing about is that there's not enough scientific data to support the way that they identified Asa and Victoria, the wife and the daughter, respectively, of Rex Heuermann. That scientific method that they used to identify the hairs of those individuals is not scientifically tested and proven, and has been upheld in court systems. And the court systems have a system called the Fry hearing, which is the Fry hearing tells you what stuff is reliable enough to use in court. So if you follow the logic, the entire thing coming up on September 3rd, and this is what I try to do on this show, is educate you about the legal process, what's going on every step of the way, what the lawyers are fighting about, so that you understand the details. So what's coming up here is the defense is trying to argue that that scientific data linking Rex Heuermann to the crime by hairs that are left by his wife and his daughter, which, by the way, John Ray and I spoke about that, about why the family's hairs are on the body. I'm going to get back to that later. The point being is that if it was just transfer, meaning that Rex Heuermann picked up some kind of duct tape in his house and his wife's hair stuck to it, or his daughter's hair stuck to it, and the point being is that they're arguing, the defense is arguing that scientific stuff is not reliable enough. It's never been proven in court that it's reliable, and so therefore you can't use the DNA. Now, what does that mean to Rex Heuermann if they decide, for example, that that's correct, that there's not enough scientific evidence to prove that it's reliable, and therefore you're not going to be able to use that data? So then all of a sudden you don't have Rex Heuermann tied to those crime scenes by the hair of his wife or the hair of his chinny chin. I couldn't resist that shit. Anyways, the point being is that his daughter or his wife. Thank you for giving me a chuckle, Robin. That at least made me feel like somebody's paying attention. Anyway. The point being is that if they can't tie him to a couple of the crime scenes because of the bad DNA, what does it mean? Well, according to John Ray, there is plenty of circumstantial evidence to tie Rex Heuermann to those crime scenes without the DNA. So the trial will go forward, he believes, and he will still be tried for those murders. The worst case scenario, of course, is that some of the 7 may not stick if they can't place him good enough at the scene or whatever, because they're relying on the DNA. So we'll see about that. but touch DNA can be trusted. This is somebody who watches the Idaho 4 case. Funny. And yes, genetic genealogy, by the way, DNA is a thing in this case as well. So if you're in the Idaho 4, you know that you get the heebie-jeebs when we start talking about genetic genealogy, IgG type, data. But so that's what's coming up on the Fry hearing. So we're just trying to give you up to speed on what's happening in the case. Let's talk about some other headlines in the case this week, and then we'll kind of get to that preview of. So I'm going to give you some headlines that are related to Rex Heuermann. And then we're going to get into that preview of the interview with John Ray and I, tell you how that you can get your pre-look if you want to as a member. And then we'll kind of close out with some stuff about CrimeCon and my trip to New York coming up and all those things like that. And we'll call it a night. Now, in the meantime, Robin and I are going to try to pay attention to some questions. Essie is paying attention. Thank you very much for paying attention. Did Tanya have, what was this one? I should point this out here. I've heard from, Chappie dropping dimes like it's going out of style. Now let's go Taya first. I've heard somewhere that even though they found like 46 burners at the LISK's house, Long Island serial killer's LISK, he kept his regular cell phone on him while he was meeting some of the victims. And then, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, good points. I did not hear the number before, 46 burner phones, but yes, allegedly the Long Island serial killer used burner phones. I have a lot of questions that I didn't get to ask John Ray. For example, why did the Long Island serial killer allegedly call and taunt only 2 of the victims and not all the rest of them? Usually killers have some kind of MO. They follow a certain pattern, a certain type of behavior. Why did certain people in the killings get a personal phone call from the killer saying, hey, I'm watching your sister rot in front of me, or things like this? Why did that happen only to certain types of people? And ultimately the question from me, and some of the questions that John Ray and I riffed on a little bit, is there more than one killer involved in this situation? Do they have different styles and different MOs? Is it all Rex Heuermann, or is it a group of people? And we talked about that quite a bit on the thing. So that's a heads up. That's going to be a really interesting conversation. Chappie Boss, again, let me highlight the gift that you gave. Thank you so much. The gift is amazing. Another DNA case. Crazy irony. That's like getting pregnant on a full-out couch. Dude, I just read that out loud instead of reading it ahead of time. Fantastic. That's amazing. I'm going to take that right off the fucking screen. All right. That's it's okay. We're an adult show. And I need, hold on. Where the hell is it? Damn it. I've got a thing to cover this. There you go. Parental advisory in the corner. That's what we needed. That's what that shit just came out of the booth, and we need to put that parental advisory on this thing now. Anyways, let's continue on. So Netflix basically now is being sued over their documentary on the Gilgo Beach called Gone Girls that you see the thumbnail on. By the way, if you have not done so already, do yourself a favor and watch that 3-part documentary, which is now going to cost Netflix more money because they're getting sued on it. And the reason they're getting sued is because a gentleman in the documentary shows up on film. He had done an interview with Rex Heuermann. It's the only interview of Rex Heuermann known to exist out there. And he did it before Rex Heuermann was identified as the Long Island serial killer. He was just doing a piece about real estate. Rex Heuermann was into real estate. This guy had like a YouTube channel or something like that and was doing like hey, I'm going to meet this real estate guy named Rex Heuermann and talk a little bit about his business. That was aired and featured for, I think, if you look at this article, for right here, for 49 seconds. Netflix is sued over 49 seconds, of which it appeared in that episode as a 23-second, an 18-second, and an 8-second clip that was borrowed without permission from the YouTube video of Rex Heuermann. The guy that did this sued their ass off for stealing his intellectual property for having that interview. They never reached out to him and offered him money for taking his interview. Now, this becomes one of those issues of fair use. It's something that I have to deal with on a regular basis. Anytime I borrow somebody's clip or play a news article from News Nation or whatever, they in theory can turn around and do the same thing this guy did and sue me like, well, you need to pay us because we're the one that broke that story and you're copying us. I hate the world of copyright infringement bullshit and suing people over you borrowed 23 seconds and also 18 seconds and also 8 seconds. So now you've got almost a minute and now you owe me a whole bunch of your millions of dollars you made on this documentary, because it wouldn't have been successful if you hadn't ripped off 49 seconds of mine. Maybe that's true. It's a fight that goes on in America all the time. But the point being is that I just wanted to bring it up because I have a fair use disclaimer at the beginning of all my videos that what I talk about, especially when I borrow clips and stuff like that, it is acceptable fair use in this country if you're providing new new take on it. You're not just repurposing the same thing and saying, oh, I'm going to show this guy's video and make it look like it's my cutting edge stuff. If you're like, hey, let's break down what this guy did and let's analyze Rex Heuermann's body language. If I do that, that's considered fair use because I'm putting a new interpretation on the guy's video. So this is kind of what happened in the Gone Girls thing, that they made the mistake of not making it clear that they were just using it for analyzing purposes and saying, hey, if you look at this and watch this, and they put a new spin on it. They just kind of ripped this guy's video off and made it look like it was their own. Probably the reason why they're getting sued for a lot of money. Well, I don't know how much the money they're getting sued for. But speaking of a lot of money, I wanted to also mention who made a lot of money. Asa, the wife of Rex Heuermann, made a lot of money. She made $1 million for the Peacock special. If you look at this article here from our favorite news source, the New York Post, I say that tongue in cheek, but here's the thing. The great thing about New York Post is it's always good for a good headline. You may not take New York Post serious, but one thing that they're good for is YouTubers, because they have all kinds of sensational headlines and they say shit that most mainstream media doesn't like to say. So at the end of the day, it's a love-hate relationship with New York Post, and I'll be doing a lot of their shit because it's just, they keep saying shit that you're like, nobody else is saying that. Point being, Asa received $1 million for her appearance in the Peacock special. And I think then also the attorneys, if you look at it, Ellerup's lawyer received $400,000 for the deal. And the daughter and the son have their own lawyer, and he received $200,000, or she, it's Vess. I don't know if that's a male or a female. That lawyer received $200,000. So Asa and her kids got $1 million for appearing in the show. The lawyer representing her got $400,000. The kids' lawyers got $200,000. This is a relatively not wealthy family, and they just made off like bandits, and so did everybody that's representing them. So it's just one of those things I find interesting. And by the way, John Ray's take on that, he had an interesting way. I'm giving you a lot of tidbits, but it's much better if you watch it from John Ray's own mouth. But one of the things he said regarding Asa being paid $1 million was that wasn't a documentary. They got paid for their performance. That was an interesting moment with John Ray. They got paid for their performance. He's indicating that a lot of that stuff, what they said, and Asa, by the way, and Victoria have been withholding any interviews from the public because they were under a locked down contract for getting paid $1 million. We're going to pay you for exclusive discussions about your husband/father. So therefore, you're not allowed to talk to anybody, and we will pay you. And by the way, now this is the way I would interpret it, not the way that John Ray said it, but paid for your performance would be like, hey, by the way, you needed to give us something juicy. So how about you say this? There's the implication. Were they paid to say certain things because it would make good TV? And when you're getting paid $1 million, are you going to say, I'm not going to say that? Oh, well, then maybe we'll just pull off the deal for $1 million. It would probably incentivize a lot of people to say whatever you need to say to get your $1 million payday. And this family needs money like you wouldn't believe. Rex Heuermann was the sole breadwinner for that family. When his wife hasn't worked practically a day in her life. The kids, one of them has a condition that requires special needs. They need money, and they lost their insurance. They lost all of their health insurance. I think one of the family members has cancer maybe or something. So with no insurance and no breadwinner in the house, they need money. Now all of a sudden they get a windfall of $1 million and things are doing good. Is there an incentive to put on a performance for that kind of money? So it's just a question. All right. Do we have any questions, by the way, before I move on to another news story?
We do. Leah would like to know what got you interested in this case.
What got me interested in the LISK case? I'm trying to remember exactly how did it start. I really can't put my finger on it other than I knew about the documentary, and I watch a lot of true crime. And when a new true crime comes out, I think it was a combination, honestly. It was a combination of my own fans who were saying, hey, you really should look into this case. And then I sat down one night and I'm like, hey, let's just watch a documentary. I watched that Gone Girls. And as soon as they got to episode 2 of Gone Girls, where they talked about police corruption and the chief of police going to jail for beating somebody in prison and the district attorney going to jail, I about pissed myself myself and I'm like, this is my story. It's got devil's advocates written all over it because police corruption, political corruption, constitutional rights violations because people are bending the law. That's when I think I got full in. Now I was already starting to pay attention, I think, because members were pointing out that, hey, you should probably look into the Long Island serial killer case. But I kind of think, can you correct me if I'm wrong, Robin? You've been watching me from the beginning. Was there anything else that indicated to you that was what got me started on LISK?
I think that's what it was. That it was just like you said when you hit episode 2, it was just like wham, and that was it, and you just took off from there.
Yeah, that's when I knew it was my cup of tea. When it hit that police corruption area, holy shit! And by the way, another teaser about John Ray's interview, which I'm going to play a clip for you pretty soon here now. Another teaser about that is I talked about the individual that essentially sent Jimmy Burke to jail as the chief of police for beating a prisoner who broke into his car. He beat him up in prison, threatened to kill his mother, threatened to kill him, all kinds of things. And then he went to jail for that. The chief of police went to jail for that. The district attorney went to jail for it. Anyways, I was talking to John Ray about that individual and some things that he later said. And John Ray stunned me by saying, oh yeah, I've represented that guy several times and we talk all the time. And and he started to riff on Christopher Loeb's story. And I was like, shit, I had no idea I was talking to somebody that was intimately and legally related to Christopher Loeb to this day. So careful who you ask questions for. Could have got it into hot water. But unfortunately, of course, John Ray's a professional and he knows what he can and he can't say, but super interesting part of that interview. I hope I've teased enough. I hope the replay people get caught onto this because this is a big interview and it's going to be really exciting. And again, John Ray has already committed to coming on and talking live after that airing, the premiere of it, to take your live questions and answers. So you get to ask John Ray the questions that you're like, DA, why the hell didn't you ask him this? Well, you'll get that chance to ask him that question yourself. All right. In fact, let's go ahead and take a moment. I got a few more stories, but we're kind of like at about where we've been all night long. Before we start losing people, let's go ahead and do a premiere a little bit of that Long Island serial killer interview with John Ray. What do you say? So I'm going to go ahead and put this up on the screen.
It was difficult to
let's not do that. Let's not start it so early. Let's first remove this. Let's add this and let's back it up. Back that ass up, and then we're going to put him full screen. All right. So right now you should hear me as a disembodied voice. You should see the screen. I should take the parental advice. Well, I don't think the parental advisor is going to roll over John Ray. You know what? But there's nothing parental advisory required for John Ray. So let's take it off. All right, here we go. Let me know if you can't hear anything and you just see his mouth moving. Throw me some, like 11111. You can't hear, but you should be able to hear this video. And let's roll a special clip, just a few minutes with John Ray. Pay attention specifically at the moment that my ears perked up when he said, in my 42 years, it's the first time I've ever seen this, and I've never seen it since. I started to pay attention big time at that point. Let's take a listen.
The answer is difficult to encompass and encapsulize because so much occurred in relation to the case of Shannon Gilbert and discreetly the obtaining of the evidence, including the 911 tape. So what really happens is the police department announces before I come into the case, the Suffolk County Police Department officially announces that Shannon very likely drowned. And in fact, they committed to the fact that she did drown and they hadn't found the body. Mary Gilbert, who was Shannon's mother, was not convinced that the police were doing their job. And that was so because she had run into roadblock after roadblock on trying to get the police to fully assist her and her family in finding Shannon. And she began to believe, and rightly so, I think, that the police were purposely ignoring her, avoiding her, and not seeking the truth. So that's when she turned to me. I took on her case in just a few days after Shannon's remains were found in the Oak Beach Marsh in 2011 in December. And I became her lawyer, and we held a press conference immediately at Oak Beach parking lot. And the purpose of the conference was onefold, and that was to demand that the police step down from a poorly done investigation and ask for the FBI to step in. We were ignored. I wrote to the FBI. I wrote to the U.S. Attorney. We were ignored. The police department, put up a blue wall against anything that I had said. And I thought I fulfilled my role in doing that work, but not true. Several days after I did that, an amazing thing occurred. And this is why my answer to the 911 tape involved this point. I get a letter from an officer of the Detectives Association, the Police Detectives Union. And he writes to me in a 2-page single-spaced letter telling me all the things that I said incorrectly at the press conference. And he did something that I've never seen before done and never since. He revealed during this investigation what he said occurred on the 911 tape. And and he spelled it out in this letter. And it's shocking because it's an ongoing investigation.
Right.
I can do that. And he wrote me on police union stationery, not on police department stationery, which was also bizarre. And when I got this, but it's bizarre for even to hear from a policeman saying, "Hey, your press conference was wrong. You made this mistake and that mistake." So he went into it and he said, in sum and substance, he said, nobody was upset on the 911 tape. Nobody was upset that night. Nobody was about to be murdered. There was no excitement. Shannon was not excited. Brewer was not excited. There was none of that. And I'm all wet, basically, in claiming otherwise. So he said, so why are we going into this? This is what happened. She got confused, got lost in the marsh, and disappeared. That's it. Well, after I got that letter, I still said did nothing except talk to Mary. I wasn't going to do anything more. But then the police went and published that letter in Newsday, in the letter section with the big black. Newsday took it and published it at their request. I didn't send it to Newsday. They did. Why? When did you ever hear of a police department doing that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why? I mean, what you got a theory about why they did it that way?
There's something wrong, something gravely wrong here with the way this investigation has been conducted from the start and until now.
Let's unmute. So there you go. A little teaser of our interview with John Ray. And that's kind of how that interview goes. Something's very, very wrong in this case. He called out Suffolk County over and over again. This is a corrupt organization, and it's just the tip of the iceberg on some of the things we talked about. So big stuff. I think you're going to dig that interview if you thought that was a pretty good clip. What do you think, Robin? You've been following LISK. Is that a good clip?
Oh my God. Holy balls. That's what I'm sitting here thinking.
Right?
Wow. And then you had to stop it. I'm like, no, don't stop.
He dropped.
Oh, I can't wait to see the rest of it.
Yeah, he dropped some bombs on me. There was a moment, I think, when John Ray said something. I've never said this before. And then when he said it, I was like, oh my God, did you just drop that on my show? So yeah, it's big. And I hope that people will pay attention. It's going to be a great interview. I got the impression that it probably won't be the first time or the only time that John Ray and I talk. In fact, when I told him I was coming out to New York, he wants to meet me. And so we talked about that. So I have a good feeling for the future. Again, good things for the channel coming up. If you're into Long Island serial killer, John Ray has been a major figure in this case. He'll tell you in the interview that we had that he's not well loved. He's not well loved by the prosecutor. He's not well loved by the defense. He's not well loved by the media. He's not well loved by the police department. He's a nuisance and a pain in everyone's ass. And I think I dig that about the guy. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting, that case coming up. So let's get back to a couple more pieces. Well, let me ask the Peanut Gallery. What do you guys think of the interview? Are you guys excited about that? I see a lot of people saying this is going to be amazing, right? This is going to be great. So I think the excitement will be there when enough people see it. Again, it's so horrible. This was the reason why I thought about trying to do this interview with Birdie, because I'm like, well, the difference in audience is enormous. But all things considered, John and I think thought was a bit more comfortable just to do it with the two of us. But we'll premiere that with Birdie. Birdie's going to come on and help ask some questions with John Ray, and it'll be a great moment for everyone. It'll get a bigger audience, and hopefully we'll get some more traction on this. So there is a lot of excitement. Oh my God, can't wait to see the interview. Very, very cool. Very well-earned interview with DA. Thank you very much. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited. Never in a million years did I think that I would be doing what I'm doing right now. When someone said, and shit, it might have even been Robin. It might have even been Robin. You know what you should do? You should reach out to John Ray, and you should reach out to Josh Zeman that did the documentary, and see if one of them will talk to you. And I laughed. I laughed out loud, like, yeah, that sounds realistic. I'll just reach out to John Ray. So I reached out to John Ray. I'm like, fuck it, what's an email? An email is not going to hurt anything. And he called me back, and like I said, I pissed myself. Yeah, hey, this is John Ray. How you doing, Lee? I'm like, what the hell just happened? So
yes,
we talked.
That was me.
Yeah, we talked and it went well. So thank you, Robin, for encouraging me to get off my insecurities and try something new. Now people are like, you know what you should do? You should reach out to Karen Agnifilo in Luigi Mangioni's case. And I laughed. I was like, come on. But you know what? The more we do this, the less I'm laughing. Holy piss.
That's right.
Leah dropped a hammer on us. Thank you so much. I'm blushing at the gift. Thank you so much for helping us out. That's amazing. So I hope that you are excited about that. Karen Agnifilo. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna draft the email. She could always say no, right? You think to yourself that the people who are involved in an ongoing investigation can't talk much, but they know how to talk, and everybody else is talking in the case, right? That they have a million documentaries on Luigi Mangioni where everybody can talk to the chief of the police, and they can talk to the prosecutors, and everybody can do their 15 minutes frame. So can Karen. Now, whether she will do so or not, I don't know, but I think I might give it a shot. So we'll see. All right. Someone says, you have to have more confidence. I'm working on it. I am working on it. Confidence has not been my strong suit, but yes, with every success, every single time a John Ray takes me seriously, and a Ali Benevento takes me seriously, and a Cynthia Thornton takes me seriously, and a Josh Zeman takes me, yeah, at some point you start to go, oh, maybe I can do this. And it's funny, behind the scenes, I told John, you know, at the end of the day, when I got over my nerves, it was when I realized I had to remind myself the old phrasing. John Ray puts on his pants the same way I do every single morning. And he laughed, and he's like, yes, we're just human beings. So once I get past that intimidation factor, we're golden. All right, so let's see. There's a couple more things I wanted to mention. There was an article that came out, no plea deal coming up for and I'm going to put this on screen. I'm talking about it, but I'm not showing it. How about this? There you go. Suffolk. So this is another New York Post article. Ray Tierney, there you can see him on the screen. That's Ray Tierney. He's the district attorney. Somebody asked him if they're talking about giving a plea deal to Rex Heuermann. He got pretty irritated and is like, no, there's no talk about a plea deal, for frick's sake. Now, some of you know you can get 2.5 years into a case where there's no plea deal talked about, and at the last second, they'll offer a plea deal, and everybody in America is pissed off. So don't hold your horses. That can't happen. We just all watched that shit happen in Idaho. But at the moment, they're insisting no plea deal is even being discussed. One of the things I thought this particular article was super interesting about was talking about discovery. And here's the thing I wanted to point out to you if you're new to the Long Island serial killer case. I think they've got 10 bodies that they're attributing. Is it 7 or 10? I think it's 10 bodies now that they're attributing to Rex Heuermann. It started with 3, then it went to 4, then it went to 7, and I think we're at 10 bodies. But at some point, and this is what the article's talking about, you have to put the brakes on things. And the reason being is because every single time they add another body, they have to provide more investigation and more discovery. So there is a large belief that Rex Heuermann has been possibly killing for 30 years. And that this is the tip of the iceberg. 7 bodies, 10 bodies, could be that he could have a body count in the hundreds when this is said and done. But as Ray Tierney points out in this article, and I'm trying to look for some moments to really we really put a moratorium on our investigation, because what would happen is we would continue to investigate the case, and we would be in a continually have to provide discovery. So what he basically said was, at some point we said more and more bodies keep coming forward, but we have to stop charging him with a new body, because every single time we get a new body and a new piece of evidence, we have to provide all that discovery, we have to do all the investigation, and it'll never stop. If this guy's been killing for 30 years, it'll never stop. So we're just going to say a 7's enough or 10's enough. And they're gonna, and that's because, and so body counts are racking up, right? In the background, tips are coming in. Other bodies are being talked about in Atlantic City, or talking about other bodies in other parts of the country that Rex Heuermann has been known to go to. And so now the question is, how many times has he killed in other cities? There's other places that have similar MOs, and how big will the case get? But at some point, because of the discovery, he said we would almost be in the continuous loop. So what we've done is we really stopped that. We're not generating any more discovery so that we can comply with the requirements under law. Every time they come up with a new body that they add to the list, they have to provide all the discovery. And so they just said, we're just going to stop it at 7. 7 is not going to be the end all of Rex Heuermann's case. This could be one of the most prolific serial killers in the country. And by the way, if you watch, and I recommend that you do, Josh Zeman's 7-part series called The Killing Season, you will find serial killers are far more prolific than you think. They are all over the country. At any given time, there are tons of serial killers operating at any given time in the country. Every minute, there are thousands, I think, in the thousands of serial killers operating all over the country, and killing in different ways. And they know this. It's way bigger than you realize. And these people sometimes kill in groups. They sometimes kill in tandem. They sometimes kill in parallel. This was the episode that I did recently, one of the ones that freaked everybody out, because we talked about how killers kill, and it got a little graphic. And some people are like, is Devil's Advocate show always this gruesome? Well, when you talk about serial killers, maybe so. In fact, that's why I started to make these a parental advisory in the corner that I put down here again, because like next time I start talking about putting nails in somebody's forehead to kill them, I'm thinking maybe we should have that on the screen. Never, ever watch Devil's Advocates with children in the room. I'm not kid friendly. Not only do I drop the F-bomb every time I get a chance, it seems like, but I also make sexual innuendos like my 15-year-old boy, because in my mind I think I still am. And sometimes when you're talking about serial killers, it's gruesome. So let's talk about a few more pieces of news. We'll take some questions. Is there any comments that I need to address right now, Robin, before I get into another piece of news?
Well, basically everyone is just very supportive and super excited about this. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. The chat's really excited about it.
Yeah, good. I hope that I know this is going to be a big case next year. It's going to be huge. No, I didn't pick this up for the bikini model, although she is pretty, like I said, 15-year-old boy is my mentality. Having said this, shit's going on in Suffolk County. This is another recent story for Suffolk County. When I go there, I've never been to the Hamptons. I've never been to Montauk. Holy crap. By the way, Birdie would love this. If you watch Birdie Bombshells and I on Mondays when we go together, we get into conspiracy theories. We never talked about the Montauk Project, which was the basis behind Stranger Things. If you know Stranger Things and that crazy thing about kidnapping children and putting them through some kind of scientific program to get them to astral project, and that shit's based on reality, people. The Montauk Project is a real thing, happened in that basic area, and that'll blow your mind. But I don't talk about that much on here because it'll discredit my channel. So I'll talk about it on Birdie's thing and discredit his channel. But anyways, he's okay with that. It's all good. This case right here, however, is a kind of a newer case. This woman who was, I think she was a fashion model. She had a TikTok channel. She sold clothing. Beautiful woman. She was found dead of kind of mysterious circumstances. Well, we don't know why or how. It doesn't look like it was violence, but there's enough mystery that people are saying that that woman just didn't die for no reason at that young age. There's something going on. And again, we're in Suffolk County. We've got other killings in here. This guy beat somebody to death with the pickaxe, I think, handle from 2019. A lot of stuff going on. And of course, Rex Heuermann is featured in the what's going on in Long Island and Suffolk County and all these things. What is going on that this shit seems to attract these kind of killers? And the reason why I find that interesting is because, again, John Ray and I talked about the possibility that Rex Heuermann may have been in a group of killers. He may not have been the only one. There may have been a group of people working together, because that area seems to attract that type of breed in that area. Son of Sam, new documentaries coming out. I'm looking forward to watching that. It's funny how in retrospect, some of these old killers that we remember hearing about, like Berkowitz, they seem like they were such the horrible boogeyman, and their crimes almost looked like child's play today by our current standards. This guy, like, when I looked at the body count, I'm like, oh my God, it's the Son of Sam. What a horrible killer. And then I'm like, he only killed like 5 people or something like that. I'm like, we're talking about killers that have body counts in the hundreds. What did he say? What was his kill count? Nearly 5 decades later. Okay, that's not it. I had it highlighted on here on his kill count, and it wasn't super high. But anyways, it became a major ordeal. The reason I'm highlighting it as well, and why it relates to Long Island serial killers, again, New York, again, of course, but also that this person who's writing, so here's the big deal. Here's Berkowitz, by the way, now older. So there's the Son of Sam in the younger days, if you see him right there. This is Berkowitz having aged quite a bit from prison, because this happened back in the 70s. But a woman who wrote the book and the documentary coming out with some new audio that's never been heard before. Berkowitz talking on audio from the 80s about the crimes. That's some new audio that's coming out. So it's old audio, but it's new for a documentary, if you follow my logic. Anyways, this particular author that helped bring out this story and these interviews that she had with Berkowitz, she's getting into what case? Long Island serial killer. She's writing a book about the Long Island serial killer. She's getting into that case. She's following that case. So everyone's going to be getting on this case. This is going to be a huge... Son of Sam killed 6, Leah said. Thank you very much. I think he hurt some additional people that he didn't kill, because I want to say there was, if you say 6 deaths and then like another 7 that he injured or something like that. But again, I don't know why I highlighted certain things. And here, maybe I can blow this up. It was up higher. Does it matter? I don't know. So this documentary explores the questions from a 1980 audio recording between Berkowitz and the journalist Jack Jones. That's not the woman you see down below, obviously, because Jack and that woman is not the same. But anyways, this journalist who had an interview with him says he was a modern day Jack the Ripper with a gun, a crazy motherfucker. But anyways, his kill count is not super high. Not to make it sound like, well, you're an embarrassment to serial killers. Put a bag on your head. But no, it's here we go. Just murdered 6 people and injured 7. There it is. David Berkowitz later revealed to be the killer. Didn't just murder 6 people and injure 7 others. He hijacked the city's safety, leaving behind a legacy of fear and media storm unlike anything New York had seen before. Well, New York, you've got plenty of new shit to talk about, I assure you. So found that interesting. We're going to end with some of my upcoming trips. We're at about an hour. This is about how I like to time things, how I feel about it. So I'm planning a trip to New York in mid-October. It may change the timing on whether or not Josh Zeman wants to see me when I'm out there. Josh is not going to be in New York at the exact time that I was planning on going. And so I can either adjust my trip, but it really depends on how Josh and I do on our interview. Josh and I are going to be interviewing next week, this same day, next week, and we're going to do that interview together. So if Josh Zeman and I vibe, and I have a really good feeling Josh Zeman and I are going to vibe, and I have a feeling that this is going to be something that's going to be, you're going to see us together more often. I just have a feeling. I've been working with his producer a lot, and we're working on ideas for if things turn out well. So it's trial balloon. Let's see how we do together. You guys make it sound like we just had an amazing thing together, and that'll help that go forward. But anyways, so when I come out to New York, hopefully I'll get to meet Josh Zeman. I'll get to meet John Ray. I'll get to bump into some NYPD police officers. Wink, wink, nod, nod to those in the house. And I hopefully will be able to see the sights, walk around a little bit, the beach, see the area with my own eyes. And that way it's not just a story in the headlines. And I can also learn how to pronounce some people's names correctly and some locations correctly. Like I slaughtered Massapequa at the very beginning. Suffolk County, I probably didn't count. And by the way, I was saying Mari instead of Mary. Mary, the mother of Shannon Gilbert. I said Mari because that's the way it looks on screen. But she had her and her daughter had unique ways of spelling Sarah and Mary. So I was thinking they were, anyways, I fucked that up even. So I'm learning how to pronounce the names as I come up to speed, showing my embarrassment. But I will say this to my own credit. I was stunned at how much I do know about this case in such a short amount of time. When I was talking to John Ray, I was stunned that John Ray hardly ever slipped me some surprise that I hadn't heard, some name I hadn't heard, something that I'm like, wow, I know this case enough that when I'm having this conversation, I know the players. So I felt pretty good about that. So coming up to speed fast on that. CrimeCon's coming up. Again, I'm going to CrimeCon on, I think it's the 5th, 6th, and 7th is the weekend of CrimeCon. The leading thing on that story is Luigi Mangione. I don't believe Rex Heuermann is on the docket. I don't recall. off the top of my head, if any of the sessions at CrimeCon are going to relate to Long Island serial killer, boy, they sure should. This is going to be a monster case. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just didn't catch it, but I got myself signed up for a bunch of stuff there. I'm going to CrimeCon. I'm going to have merchandise. I'm going to wear my own merchandise. I've been selling my merchandise. The order has been placed. For those of you who had a chance for weeks to get yourself in on the early adoption of that merchandise, I've got your orders in. You're going to get your stuff shipped right away by my wife as soon as those, because I think what's going to happen is I'm going to get that merchandise in time for me to leave, and my wife's going to do the shipping out to all the people who have ordered merchandise so that you can wear them. But I need to get on the road ASAP after picking up that merchandise. At least that's the plan if everything goes really, really well. So, and if you are interested in doing that, by the way, getting some merchandise, you can do so on my website right here, which is devilsadvocates.info. There's a shopping cart button. That's one way to get to the shopping cart, or you can do /shop. Also, if you want to help out with CrimeCon, I hate begging for money. I'll make this brief. Buy me a drink or a coffee or a lunch at CrimeCon, Cash App and Venmo. I have a couple of options here that you can donate some money. People have already done that, so thank you so much. I've gotten a meal paid for already on that thing and a drink paid for, so it'll make things a lot easier because I'm spending all my money on that merchandise I talked about. Last thing I want to tell you about some members only content before we leave. Some of you may not care about this whatsoever, and this is coming out of my own money, so it's not you guys donating money for something that you find frivolous. This is my own money. But back when I was a young man, I decided to get my first ever tattoo because my parents told me, never get a tattoo. You'll regret it the rest of your life. And what I regretted was me being told what I was going to regret the rest of my life and not just doing it. So I think when I got 30, I think it was, I got a tattoo because I just wanted to prove to myself that I'm not going to have my parents tell me what I can and can't do. And I got one. I was such a bad boy. I was such a rebel. I got a really dark tattoo over here, and then my wife and everybody around me told me, you know what, getting a tattoo did not make you a bad boy. So that was kind of funny. But then later on, I decided once you get a tattoo, you're addicted and you want to get another tattoo. So I got some Alice in Wonderland stuff here, and I got some Alice in Wonderland stuff here. And then I got another one down below. And then I talked to just recently, I said, before I go to CrimeCon, I want to get a Devil's Advocates tattoo, something that commemorates this major shift in my life where things are really, really changing. I ended up getting in touch with a place, and I'm going to show you on screen. It's kind of like getting ahead of myself, just a hair, but Dead God's Tattoo. Boy, that's a dark name. Dead God's Tattoo. This is a very, very high-end tattoo parlor, and I worked out a really, really cool deal. A really excellent tattoo artist is going to do a badass Devil's Advocates tattoo for me because it's something personal I wanted to do. He's cutting me a discount on there because I'm a YouTuber, and he's going to cross-promote me. We're going to videotape our entire tattoo session, which is 9 hours. So we're going to videotape that. He's going to show it on his show. Maybe I'll show it on my show for members only. So I know you don't give a shit whether I get a tattoo or not. However, we might talk true crime because that guy was super fascinated that I was a true crime guy. So who knows? So for members only content, it's just a bonus. I would never put it on the main channel. You might want to, and that's happening this Saturday. This Saturday, I'm going under the millions of needles for 9 hours of tattooing. The biggest thing I've ever done, the biggest tattoo I've ever done. And it's just because I just wanted to commemorate this major shift in my life. So if you want to check that out, that's members only stuff coming up on Saturday. Any other comments before we close? Because that's it. I got nothing else. Any other comments?
Well, everybody's asking about your socials. Folks, DA is on Facebook now, too.
Yes, I've got Facebook. I've got Instagram. I've got TikTok. I've got Discord. I've got, and Substack. I've got Substack. Don't forget Substack for written material. Now, I'm a little in over my head. TikTok's probably the bigger platform in the sense that I got like 8,500 people over there. But at some point, TikTok decided I was not going to grow anymore, and in fact they drove me away from their platform because every single time I would do an article or something on Luigi Mangione, no matter how careful I was, they would say it was hate speech because I'm suggesting that maybe he's not the villain that they said he is, and that made me get flagged for hate speech. You're saying that it's okay to kill people. It's not what I said. You're misinterpreting it. But they got me in trouble all the time talking about Luigi, and I finally got tired of it, and I moved over to YouTube, and that has changed my life because I'm a long form kind of guy. I never get in trouble at YouTube for saying murder. I don't have to say unaliving and play all the games that they play over at TikTok to try to avoid the censors, which I think is asinine because if you can flag the word murder, you can flag the word unaliving. You know what the hell it is. Let's not have to be children. Anyways, personal rant. Point being is YouTube is more my thing. Instagram never really took off for me, but I'm there as well. I've got some minions, we call them minions, that help out there. And that was a thing that they were okay being called. I loved the idea idea. Someone told me one time, you know you've made it in life when you have minions. And then my group picked it up and said, oh my God, I love the minions thing. Let's be some minions. And they helped me with things like cross-promoting our channel, putting clips, viral clips on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. And then I do some writing on Substack. So I'm working for a living. I'm working harder for myself than I did for other people. Don't tell my former bosses, they'd be unhappy about that. All right. Any other things on the way out? We do have amazing minions. We have amazing minions. Uh-oh. Chappie I'm double sleeved and chest. Ink is addicting. Right. By the way, as an aside, Chappie, I never wanted to get a sleeve, I don't think. Right. And then so I'm talking to the tattoo artist and I'm showing him my concept that I want. And he's like, that's badass. We can do a full sleeve. And I'm like, hold on a second. Like, I'm not ready for a full sleeve. No, we'll do a full sleeve. You're going to be there for like 9 hours. We'll stay late if we have to. Freaking get yourself some snacks. Let's go. And I'm like, Jesus. What did I just get into? Anyway, so I'm a little terrified in a way because I've never done that long of a sitting. But anyways, we'll see how that goes. Last minute comments? I love your phrasing on that, Robin. Please leave some touch DNA on the like button. That's very clever. I've always loved that. I never really said anything about it before. I love that. All right, folks, thank you for coming in. Thank you for hanging with me, even though these shows don't generate a massive amount of people coming in. It's coming, though. I feel like it's coming. Our channel's building on a regular basis. Right now, everybody's confused what to do as Idaho 4 seems to be like coming to an end. You know, the plea deal window is and so people are like, well, I don't want to hear about anything other than Idaho 4, but there's going to be new cases. I'm covering new cases. I'm always looking for new cases. You're going to find out that I think you're going to find that these cases are going to be just as interesting. You're going to learn just as much about law and how legal documents work, how our judicial system works, how mainstream media paints things and slants public opinion before anybody ever steps into the courtroom. It's still going to be a ride, and that Long Island serial killer case is going to be enormous. We're going to be talking about that for decades. We'll be dead, and they'll still be talking about the Long Island serial killer case, I almost guarantee you. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Everything Me, for saying you're great. I appreciate that. I'd put it on the screen, but I'm almost out of here. So it's super awesome having everybody here tonight. Take it easy. And tomorrow night, by the way, as a teaser, Pete Altieri is going to go with my Devil's Mayhem. That's Devil's Advocates and Murder Metal Mayhem. I think A.R. Hayes is going to join us again. We had an episode with A.R. Hayes last week. I think A.R. Hayes is going to join us again. So a special night of Devil's Mayhem coming up again tomorrow. It should be Pete Altieri, A.R. Hayes, and myself discussing whatever Pete wants to do. Pete steers that show. I'm just a guest. So check it out. Thanks for watching. Do like, subscribe if you've never been here before. Please give me that courtesy. That'll help us out a lot. Share this with other people if you can. Help us get that algorithm unbroken because I broke my system. I won't go into the details. Get us going again. Help us get some love, and you guys take it easy. Have a good one.